Okay, since we're still getting a few more attendees, we'll wait for around 2, 3 more minutes so everyone can join and then we'll start the webinar. Again, for those who joined a bit late, make sure you downloaded and installed Blender 2.92 on the device that you're using so you can follow along with tutorials.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Blender workshop or 3D modeling workshop from the GIIS Tech Club. My name is Soham, and I'll be one of your mentors today as we take you to a short 2-hour workshop for 3D modeling.
I'm Yuvraj, and I'll also be part of this workshop.
All right, so hope everyone has Blender up and running on the systems. We'll be starting the workshop now. All right, so Blender, right? So what really is Blender? It's a 3D modeling software. You can say that it's an open source 3D modeling software and attempts to provide people who can't afford expensive softwares to work around with 3D building and modeling or sculpting and shading. There's almost everything in Blender that we can cover today. Uh, so a 3D computer graphics software, you can say it. It's like you can have visual effects in it, you can have animated films in it, you can make a cool cover art maybe. You can make 3D printed models, you can convert your Blender files into an STL file and then convert it to a 3D model. We have interactive 3D applications. There is you can also make computer games with this, but that's a bit more complex. uh, so Blender, right, it's a community effort by very like about a group of 20 people in Netherlands. They made Blender so many people can use it, so increase the reach of um, the 3D modeling software. uh, Blender itself is an interactive software where everything is kept relatively simple across all platforms, and it can be used on multiple devices as well. So it's Mac compatible and Windows compatible. So yeah, that's it for Blender's introduction. It's basically consistent, and the one of the advantages it has that it has no disruptive pop-up windows. You won't see anything randomly coming up. The workflow is really smooth, and that's what makes Blender really special.
Okay, so today we'll be running you guys through this infinite loop animation. I'll just let it play for a while. So yeah, we'll be covering all of these things today. We'll teach you about the 2 different render engines that you should be using in Blender. We'll talk about the basic interface, how to set up your scene, how to composite your scene, We'll touch upon basic modeling. We'll talk about modifiers, which are really important. Of course, we're going to go around texturing the scene, which is perhaps the most important thing in 3D art. Lighting, parenting, keyframing, and animation are a few more things that we'll try to run over through the course of this workshop.
Okay, so EV versus cycles. Now, what are these two names? Really weird names. They are render engines. So what does rendering mean? It's basically processing your scene, processing your animation, or whatever image that you create in Blender. So both of them have their advantages and disadvantages, maybe. Uh, so basically, EV, it's for the shortest understanding, it takes lesser time. Its cycles is 12 times slower than EV in most of the general computers. So EV renders the scene really quickly. As we can see, your lights and shadows are not realistic in EV, but it's fast rendering. We need to also understand it depends on the complexity of a scene. If you're rendering something really basic, for example, it's just like a simple mesh, both EV and cycles would relatively take the same time. um, EV is good for like simulating uh, simulating light for like blooming and all that. We'll get into that later. Cycles has been really special for Blender through the years. Um, it provides an touch of realism to it. It's slow rendering, but the output at the end, it's truly beautiful. Uh, it uses ray tracing. Many of you may have played these games with ray tracing, for example, Minecraft, and you can really see the effects what it brings to the game. Realistic textures and cycles, they're rendered perfectly with correct amount of texturing, light. You can almost get or get a scene on par with realism. That's the best way I can put it.
Okay, yeah, so this is just a little comparison between the two. On the left side, you see a rendered output from the EV engine, and on the right, you see an output from the Cycles engine. As you can see, the Cycles engine has the considerably much better output, and on the side of the screen, you can see the reflections as well, but in EV, you aren't able to see that. Oh, the difference is that in EV, this took about 45 seconds to render, whereas this took me 4 hours to render in Cycles. So there is a massive difference. However, when we come over to indoor scenes like this, you'll notice there's not much difference in EV and Cycles. It's pretty much the same. And some people might even prefer the darker colors of EV. Here's why EV is much better than Cycles. EV EV rendered the scene in just 47 seconds, whereas the same scene in Cycles took 47 minutes. So yeah, this is basically the point that I'm trying to convey. When it comes to realism and outdoor scenes, Cycle is your go-to render engine, but for indoor scenes like this, there's not much difference, and this is why EV comes into play. I think Soham will guide you on the basic interface of Blender now.
All right, just give me a second. Let me screen share my Blender. All right, hope everyone can see my Blender. All right, Yuvraj, you can see the Blender, right?
Yep, everything visible.
All right, so let's get into this. So I'll be taking you through the basic navigation through Blender, so all the interface and whatever. So then Yuvraj can later on take you into scene rendering and nodes and texturing and everything. So what I'll be teaching you now is how to get around Blender. It may seem complex at first when you open it, but it gets really easy as you use it, as if it becomes muscle memory. So now basic navigation in Blender. What when you open Blender, this is supposed to be the scene in Blender. This is normal cube on the x-axis and the y-axis. So to rotate around, I hope all of you are using mouses. So to rotate around the cube, you hold down your scroll button and it rotates under the axis, the center axis. Then if you want to select the object, you use left click, it selects. Now, generally when you select an object, or always rather, the object will get highlighted in orange. So that's how you know the object is selected. Now, to the next thing. If you want to select multiple objects, for example, let's say there's a cube over here. All right, just give me a second. If you want to select multiple objects over here, you use shift and select both of the objects. I'll tell you how to duplicate the object later. uh, so that's how you select multiple objects. The other object will usually be a dark orange, but that doesn't really matter as long as you know both the objects are selected. All right, so after that, uh, if in your scene you have multiple objects together, there's a shortcut to it. You can press A and then shift everything, or like deselect everything as well. uh, then whatever you're seeing over here, this is called as the object mode. As you can see over here on the left up corner, it's called as object mode. So what happens in object mode is you can see your object. You can turn your object into 3D axis. So that's what Blender is about. It's a 3D modeling software. So we are constructing an object in all three axes. You have the X axis, Y axis, and then you have the Z axis as well. So that's for the object mode. Now edit mode. How to go into edit mode? So on your keyboard, you have the tab button. You press tab, then you go into edit mode. Hope everyone is following through. I'll give some seconds for everyone to follow through.
Soham, is it possible for you to switch on your keyboard overlay so everyone can see what buttons you're pressing?
All right, wait. Just give me a second.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing for a minute.
Okay, sure.
Okay, hope everyone can see the screen. The for the buttons, right? Just remember the tab button for now. Um, Most of the things aren't simple. I'm not using any buttons over here, so it's easier to follow through. So hope everyone has followed through the tab button. So you click on the object, tab, that's edit mode. That's all we need to know for now. So you hit tab and then you go back into object mode. All right, so that's object mode. Now for scaling and rotating, you click on the object. If you see the side panel here, you have the move button. You can use this arrows to move. You have the rotation button. You can move on the different axes. You have the scaling button. You can scale up, scale down. Now click on the empty space inside the white circle, because if you click on these axes, it will scale on the respective axis. So you can scale on the X axis, the Y axis, and the Z axis. Hope everyone is following through. So click on the empty space for scaling it proportionally, and click on these red, green, and blue lines to scale it according to the axis. Now we have this one, just move. So if you want to move around any axis, you can click this button. It goes here. Give me a second. You can click these lines. It will go on the x-axis, move on the y-axis, and move on the z-axis. So that's all we need to know for the moving tab. Now rotation. So if you want to rotate around objects, so if you want to turn it by some angles, or like turn the object around in general, we can click on the object, press R on your keyboard, and then with your mouse you can rotate it around. Also, if you want to undo something that you did, you have the normal option, which is Command Z. I think most of you will be knowing that. So you have Command Z.
One second, Soham. If you guys have any questions or were unable to follow, you can raise your hand and we'll allow you to unmute so you can ask your question specifically. Since we get that using a Q&A for this demonstration would be less than efficient.
Or do you have any questions? All right, no questions for now. All right. Um, so again, this is for moving, that's for rotating, that's for scaling. All right. Now for the shortcuts, you can click on the object. For rotation, which stands for R, click R on your keyboard, and then you can rotate around the object. Now, what if you want to rotate around the object on a specific axis? So for example, you want to rotate on the x-axis, you can click R, X, sorry, my bad, R, X, and then rotate it on the x-axis. If you want to rotate it on the y-axis, you have R, Y, you can rotate on the y-axis.
Soham, I think Omer and Uzair have a question for you.
All right. Could you read out the question? I'm unable to see it on the.
They're unmuted. They'll be saying the question out loud.
All right.
We missed the starting of this tutorial, so I'm just asking where will you be sending the recording of this meeting?
We're recording the meeting, or we'll either try sending it to a Google Drive folder via my GIIS email, or we'll upload it on our website, which will be going live soon, and then you guys can view it on there. Make sure you follow our GIIS Tech Club social media on Instagram so you know where the recordings will be posted. Soham, you can continue.
All right. So that was for moving the object. For the people who have missed some of the following, some of the starting steps, basically to move around on your screen, you hold your scroll button on your mouse, hold it down, and then you can move it around however you want. That's most of it. So we did rotation. Now, what about translation? Translation on the x-axis or the y-axis. So the shortcut for translation is the letter G, G for Germany. You can hit G and press your respective axis, and then you can move it around. That's how you do it. So R is the shortcut for rotating. G is the shortcut for translating it. That's all we need to know for now. And scaling, of course, scaling. So scaling will stand for S for Singapore. S, you can scale it proportionally. If you want to scale it on one of the axes, you can use S, press the X key, scale it on the X axis. If you want to scale it on the Y axis, you can press S, Y, scale it on the Y axis. If you want to go scale it on the Z axis, go up and down, you can use S, Z. Yep, that's it for scaling and translating. All right. Now, if you want to delete an object from your interface, from your workstation, you can click on the object. You'll know if you click on the object when you see your orange highlighted markers. All right, you can see this orange highlight. Click on the object, and you can press the X key. X for xylophone. Delete. That's how you delete it. I'll give a second for everyone to follow through. All right. So now, coming to the last part for the basics. Now, what do? You have no object. What will you work with? Now you want to add a mesh. So you can either go up here to add, and then you have all these things. So add over here. For now, we'll be only working with a mesh. You can see the different meshes over here. You have a plane, you have a cube, you have a circle, you have a UV sphere. All these are different meshes we'll work around with. So you can either do that, or you have an easier shortcut, which is press Shift, and then you can press A. Then you get all the meshes over here. Now let's get back our cube, and that's it for now. So you can delete, press X again, Shift A to bring back a mesh or bring a new mesh. Hope everyone can do it. Aishwan, could you read me the questions?
Someone's asking me to repeat the translation part, so the DT.
All right. So I'll just add back the cube. All right. So translating. So we know translating means moving on the axis. So you can either move on the x-axis or the y-axis or the z-axis. You have three axes in 3D, yeah, 3 dimensions. So you click on the object, press G, press the axis you want to rotate on. So you can press GX, it translates on the x-axis. You can press GY, translates on the y-axis. GZ, translates on the z-axis. Or if you just want to move it around, you can just click G and just move the thing around however you want. Yep. Is that the last question?
Yeah. Translation basically refers to moving the object around in the three-dimensional space. So you can move it on the x-axis, y-axis, or z-axis to change its position in your working space. That's basically what translation means.
All right. So now we have hopefully everyone can add and mesh to their scene. So now let's discuss about this. This is called as your scene over here. Whatever you see is the scene. So this is your mesh. You see this little thing over here. That's your camera. So we'll get into that later. You see this little thing over here. That's your light. That brings in light to your scene. Over here, you have your toolbars. In case you don't know the shortcuts, we will be sending a list of shortcuts later. But for now, over here, you have the keys you can use for moving, rotating, and scaling. That's the only three we need to know for now. Over here on the side, on the right-hand side, you see this panel over here. There are many things over here. If you go to the second button from the top over here, you can see your render engine. So this is what we are discussing earlier. We had EV and cycles. um, Yuraj will get into this later, but for now, you just need to know this is for your dimensions of your scene. So, for example, you're posting on Instagram, then you have a dimensions. You put 1080 into 1080. For now, it's 1920. Yuraj will explain that later. Uh, all this we don't need to know for now. We need to know this one. You click on the object over here, and then you can see this tool that's shaped like a wrench. So this is your modifier. So for basic terms, what a modifier does, it gives special effects, you can say, or like makes things much easier in Blender to do. Yuraj will get into all the modifiers after this, but for basics, you need to know is modifiers, modifying the object to different things for doing things easier in Blender. For example, you want to make objects smoother, then you have a subdivision surface. So there are multiple modifiers like that, which we will be using in the project rendering. So this is it for the basics. So we covered movement, we covered translation, rotation, we covered deleting the mesh, which is press the X key and delete the mesh. We covered adding a mesh, which is shift A, adding the mesh. So you can click on the mesh you want. Let's say we want a cylinder. You click on the cylinder, you have a cylinder. So yeah, that's it for now. Hope everyone followed through, and that's it for the basics. Can I stop screen sharing?
Yeah.
Sure.
Uh,
While you bring up the screen share, if anyone else has any questions, please remember you can raise your hand, or if you don't have a working mic, you can send in your questions via the Q&A as well.
All right,
Um,
someone's asking to repeat the mesh part.
yeah, sure. You bring up the screen share. I believe Anish has a question as well, so I'm allowing him to talk. Anish, you can ask your question.
Could you repeat the modify? Could you repeat the modifier part again?
All right, wait, let me screen share again, then I'll answer the two questions.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
All right, hope everyone can see the scene. All right, so what is the other question? All right, Anish, your question about modifiers, right? So if you click on the object here, you'll know if you click on the object when you see this orange highlight over here. Also, I forgot to mention zoom and zoom out. Sorry. If you scroll up and down, you can zoom in and zoom out. Yeah, that's all you need to know. Now modifiers, right? You see this wrench tab over here? That's your modifiers. If you go to add modifiers, right, you can see all these modifiers. They do different things. So a modifier helps you do things easier in Blender. Do things, make sculpting easier, make animation easier sometimes. Sometimes if you want to make multiple objects, you have the array modifier. There are lots of things you can do, which we will be covering in this workshop later on. So that's all you need to know for modifiers. What is the other question?
Thank you.
Talking about addition of meshes. So
All right. Addition of meshes. So for deletion of meshes, you click on the object, press X, delete. For addition of meshes, shift, press A, mesh is there, then you can get whatever mesh you want. For now, let's get a cylinder. Hope you followed through. So it's shift A and then you select a mesh. All right. Can I stop screen sharing?
Yep, all the questions have been answered.
All right. Hope everyone followed through, and those were the basics of Blender.
So I'm just confirm if you guys can see my screen.
We can.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, so I'm going to be guiding everyone through the scene that we showed you guys earlier. If you want, I'll just show you guys how this looks. So today we'll be learning how to make this animation. And basically this is an infinite loop, which means that no matter how many times we play it back, it will look like it's just continuing forever, which is one of the more important techniques in Blender you should learn. So can everyone just raise their hand if when they open a Blender, they get this screen? So everyone just has to click File, New, and start a general file over here. Can everyone confirm that they see what I'm seeing as well? All right, just a few people left. Okay, yeah. So I'll start straight away from where Soham left off, which was on the output properties tab. He spoke
Wait,
about.
Yuvraj.
Yeah.
What's the line that's passing through the cube?
Okay, we'll just get rid of that. My apologies. Okay, just ignore this line for now. It's not supposed to be here. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave where Soham left off. First things first, this third icon over here, this will move you to your camera's view, okay? So now when I click this, I'm gonna see what the camera sees, all right? And when I click out of it, I'll go back to the default view that I was on, all right? So what I'm gonna do for the sake of demonstration, I'm gonna go back to this, and I'll just show you how the different resolutions work. So this is the number of pixels on your x-axis, and which is a horizontal axis, and this will be the pixels on your y-axis, which is a vertical axis. So if I reduce this value, you'll notice how the values on the x go up. So suppose I make this 1080, it becomes a square, all right? For usual animations, it's recommended to work in 1920 on your x and 1080 on your y. So we'll be working with those dimensions as well. I'm going to run you guys through the first tab now, which Soham spoke about. The first setting is ambient occlusion. This is basically just your shadows. So for us to have realistic shadows, we want to turn this on. Okay. So this is bloom. I'm not sure how many of you guys played games. Okay. So I'm going to switch to my rendered view by clicking Z and moving up to rendered over here. When I move to my rendered view, this is what I would see without bloom, which means without any glow. But if I turn the bloom on, you'll see how it starts glowing, right? So basically, bloom just helps you create these sci-fi looking glows and these really interesting little mist scenes, okay? So we want to leave that on. I'm going to head back to my solid view now.
Yuvraj, we have a question from Akshay. So now
Oh,
I've
yeah.
allowed him to unmute. He can ask it.
Yeah.
Akshay, you had your hand raised. If you have a question, you can go ahead. What about you, Soham?
Hello, Yuvraj.
Yeah, I can hear you.
When I press bloom and when I press ambient, that button,
Yeah.
my
Occlusion.
it doesn't light up. What do I do?
Okay, so basically what I did over here is I just changed this to a sunlight so I could show you guys the demonstration. I'm guessing it would be like this for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's perfectly
Yeah,
all
this is
right.
how it is.
I just made it a sun so that all of you guys can see the difference. So that, yeah, that's not important right now, so we won't worry about it. And I saw a question from Anirudh Pranesh. Oh, we should use EV cycles. Make sure you're on EV over here. And Priyansh, I pressed the Z key, the Z button, to get to my rendered view. And then you will see this pie menu that pops up. So I just went to the top one over here. So like that. I think on the bottom left, you can see what buttons I'm pressing as well. So yeah. If everyone's understood what we've done so far, could you please raise your hand?
How do you go to the sunlight again?
Okay, so with our light selected, we click on the light icon over here, and we just click the sun over here. Okay, anyways, we're going to be deleting this light in a while, so I'll explain the different types of lights to you later. Okay, I can see everyone's hands are up, so we'll move on to the next part of this tutorial. So what we'll do is we'll click on this cube, we'll hit X, and we're going to delete this cube. Okay, then we're going to hit Shift A, and we're gonna spawn in a cylinder. All right, so now we have a cylinder in our scene. I'm going to delete this light as well. So I click the light, I hit X, and I delete that. All right, so what I'm going to do is click on the object properties, which is your first orange tab, and I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees on the x-axis. Okay, so there we go, it's rotated 90 degrees now. So now as we need to increase the scale of the object as well. So what I'll do is I'll increase this value 6 times, the Z axis. I'll make that to a value of 6. Okay, so if everyone's done this, just raise your hand. Okay, yeah, that's great. So now this is another important thing in Blender. So when I scale the object, you'll notice how our x-axis is 1, our y-axis is also 1, but our z-axis is 6. So this will become a problem when we texture the objects, because whenever we texture the objects, when they follow the coordinate system, or they'd be too scaled out on the z-axis. So for us to have a uniform scale, we hit Control A right now, and you all would see this menu, and then we hit Apply Scale. Okay, so Control A and just hit Scale, and you'll notice that this value went down to 1 over here.
Yuvraj, could you repeat the process of adding the cylinder and then rotating and scaling it, because some people are confused.
Okay, yeah.
Also, those who you've rather asked you to raise your hands, but once it's done, please remember to lower your hands again, because we have to make sure that we unmute the people with raised hands. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So to view our object list, as Soham told us, we hit Shift A on our keyboard. Okay, and in the first panel called Mesh over here, we're gonna go to Cylinder. Okay, when you click Cylinder, you'll get this cylinder spawning in. Okay, and what we did is we rotated it 90 degrees on the x-axis. So we're just gonna shift this value to 90. Okay, and then to make it longer, we took the z-axis of the object and we increased that to a value of 6. So I'm gonna click 6 over here. Has everyone followed until this part? Okay, that looks good. So now, as I said before, when we texture the object, we have errors because the X and Y axis information is to the same size, but the Z is abnormally bigger. So what we'd want is everything to have a uniform value, which is why we hit Control A, and this would be Command A if you're on the Mac. Okay, once you hit Control A, you just click the scale button over here. So what you notice is this has come back to 1. And basically, we're just telling Blender that this is what we want the object to look like in its default scale. Okay. All right. So now we'll move into we'll press tab now, and we call this the edit tab. So I assume everyone's going to see this when they hit tab and they enter this view. All right. So on the menu on the left over here, we have a lot of different options. We have extrude region, we have inset faces, bevel, and loop cuts. These are the 4 essentials that we'll be working on. So for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to play around with these settings just to show you how it works. I wouldn't expect anyone to do much here right now. So extrude, as the name suggests, means we just make this longer. That's basically what extrude does. Okay, I'm going to go back to its default state. Inset faces, so if we go here, it's basically going to inset the face. So you notice how it's making new faces inside the object. That's what this does. Then we have bevels. So I'm not going to explain beveling just yet. I'll go into that later. And what I need you guys to do is now hit the loop cut button, everyone. Okay. So what this does is it will create a cut wherever you place your mouse on the object, basically. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to hit in the middle and we'll create one loop cut here. All right. We go to the left. We'll make a second loop cut. We'll make a third loop cut again. Okay, and we'll go on this. We'll go over here and we'll basically make 7 loop cuts. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5, 6, 7, and 8. Was everyone able to follow this? We basically just we made one cut in the middle and we just cut across the left side 7 times so that we'd get this pattern.
Yuvraj, you have a question for Monitor?
Oh, yeah.
Could you just repeat what you said again? I wasn't able to follow properly.
Oh, like the loop cut part?
Regarding the cuts, yes.
All right, so do you have the loop cut menu selected?
Yes.
And have you just created this cut in the middle of the object?
Not yet.
Okay, yeah, so like this is what you'd see right now on your screen. So if you put your mouse on the object, you'd see loop cut over here, and you'd see this yellow circle, right? So just left click on that. All right.
Yeah.
And so we want to make 7 loops on the left side now. So again, we put our mouse in the middle. We make a second cut. We make a third cut over here now. And we make a 4th cut over here. So you see how they're all evenly spaced, right?
Yeah.
So now we'll just make 3 more. So in the middle of these 2, in the middle of these 2, in the middle of these, and in the middle of these. So you should get like uniformly spaced cuts now. Do you see this on your screen?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
All right. So now we're just going to do this on the right side as well. So 1 in the middle, 1 on the left, 1 on the right, and then 1 between all of them. If everyone can do this, just raise your hand, I guess, in the chat. If anyone has some doubts, you could just ask it in the Q&A. Oh, Aditi, has your doubt been answered yet? Or do you want me to go again over that?
No, could you just repeat it?
All right, so which part are you stuck on?
I have the object, but I don't know how to get a loop cut.
Okay, so on the left side, do you see this menu over here?
No, I don't see that menu.
Have you clicked tab on Have you clicked tab on your keyboard?
I have it now.
All right, so we'd go to the fourth option here, which is called a loop cut. And we just place it in the center of our shape over here. So we place it here and we're going to left click. Okay. Have you done this much?
Yeah.
All right. And we're just going to make another one to the left of that. And then we'll just make one on both sides of it. So have you been able to do this?
Yeah.
All right. And then we'll just make one more in between all of these. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Have you been able to do that?
Yeah.
All right. And we'll just repeat this on the right side as well. So one in the middle, one on both sides, and then one between all of them. So you should get a shape looking like this. Have you been able to get this?
Yeah, I got it now.
All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit A on our keyboard. Okay. And you'll see how everything turns orange on your screen. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and we're going to click subdivide. Okay. There we go. And you should see your shape have a lot more faces like this. Okay, what this basically means is that we just have a lot more geometry to work with. If everyone has this, then can you just raise your hands?
Yuvraj, Anirudh wants you to repeat what you just said, so the subdivision part.
All right, so Anirudh, is the shape looking like this?
He's not unmuted, 1 second. Yep, he's allowed to talk now.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does look like that.
Okay, so then we hit A on the keyboard. Have you hit, it's a shape like this now?
Yes.
So we're just going to right click on the shape and just click subdivide.
Right, got it.
It should look like this. Okay.
Yep, got it.
All right, so the next thing, I think everyone did raise their hand, so we'll move on to the next step. So over here, what we do is we go over here on the top. Do you see the third panel on your screens? We're going to click on this panel. And what this means is that now we can select individual faces. So if I just click this and like, oh yeah, I actually want all of you guys to just hit the move. All right, so now if I put my mouse anywhere, I'm clicking faces instead of edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this big face on the end. I'm going to hit X on my keyboard. I'm going to delete the face. Okay. I'm going to hit only faces. And then I'm going to go back over to this side and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to hit X on the big face and I'm going to delete the faces.
Yuvraj, some people are confused as to how you go from selecting edges to selecting faces. So could you just repeat what you did?
Oh yeah, okay. So if you go to the top left of your screen, you'll notice that your select button is over here in the middle. You just move to the third panel over here, which is the last one. The one with the cube is called face select. So once we click on that, now we can just click on individual faces. So what I want you to do is just click the face at the end and we press X and only faces, which means that we're only going to delete this circular face. And then we can go back to the other end as well. Click on this face, hit X and only faces. So once you've done that, just raise your hand, please.
Surya, did you say that you had a doubt?
Is there a doubt?
So we had a sound base. Okay, never mind. I guess that was answered.
Okay. So now we're gonna go back out of tab. We're gonna hit tab and we're gonna enter this mode again. All right. So I'm guessing this is what it looks like to you guys on the screen as well now. So now you notice how we have all these lines over here. We're gonna get rid of these in a minute, okay? So I want you all to head on to the modifier properties, okay? Just have your cube, have your cylinder selected, okay? Head over to the modifier properties. And then we're gonna click add modifier. And we'll add a subdivision subsurface, okay? So you'll find it over here in the generate tab towards the end. It's called a subdivision surface. So we're just going to click on that. And you'll notice how immediately these lines become a lot more finer on your screen. Okay, this basically just means that notice how we earlier subdivided our cylinder. This is just smoothing those subdivisions now. So what we do is we're gonna increase the levels viewport to 2 over here, because that's the same as our render display. At this point, I'd request everyone to just save the project once, just click file, save as, and just save the project once so that you don't lose any progress. And just raise your hand once you're done.
Yuvraj, can you repeat the subdivision part? We're getting a few questions in the Q&A.
Oh, all right. So, this is what your cube will look like when you, so we were in this view. Now we hit tab and we come back to the object view. So what we do is we go to the modifier properties over here, which is the wrench icon. And we go up to modifier. And then we go down to subdivision surface. Okay, I'm just going to leave this on the screen for a few seconds so you guys can navigate to it. Okay, so when we go to subdivision surface, we click on it and you'd see how it's become smoother now. So yeah, that's basically what subdivision surface does. And then we're gonna increase this levels viewport. We just click to the right and we'd make it 2 over here. Okay, so that's what we did over here. Just give me a second.
Yuvraj, there's still a few doubts regarding how you delete specific spaces. So can you just make a new cylinder and then show it to them?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I'll just make a new cylinder. I'll just drag it all the way here. And now when you go to tab mode, I'll rotate it 90 degrees as well. All right, so when I hit tab on the cylinder, I come to the third panel. Can you guys see my mouse on the top left of the screen? I'm gonna click on face select, okay? And I'm just gonna select this sort of big round flat face on the end, okay? And now with that selected, I'll just hit X and only faces. And you'll see how that goes away. And then we just go to the other side and we hit the other flat face. And we delete that as well. So now you have a fully hollow cylinder. Oh, did you guys follow that? Whoever had the doubt. All right, I assume it should be all right now. Okay, so let's just move on to the next step. So now, just give me a second. I'll just open up the animation for you guys. All right, so can you guys see my screen again?
Yeah, we can.
All right, so you'll notice how there's a lot of bumps on the edges of the cylinder that we have. You'll see it, like, especially in this area, you see how there's a lot of bumps. So we're just going to focus on creating that next. Okay, so I'll head over back to Blender. So what I'll do is I'll click the cylinder again. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the wrench icon. And I'm going to add another modifier. This time I'm going to add a displace modifier. Okay, so just click add modifier in the third panel, which is deform. We'd click on displace. So when you do that, you'd probably notice that your cylinder just becomes bigger. Oh, that's nothing to worry about. So on the displace, we're going to click on this new button. Okay, so we just click new, and well, it's become smaller now. All right, because we haven't really made a texture as yet. So I'm going to go to the bottom tab now. Okay, it's called texture
Yeah, that's
properties.
a question from Lakshay. I've allowed him to unmute.
Yeah.
Hi, how do you make the cylinder smooth?
Okay, wait. Oh, so can you click on the modifier properties tab? Like, did you click on it?
Yeah, I clicked on it.
Okay, and then click add modifier.
Yeah, and then I clicked on the subdivision surface.
Yeah, and it should
That's
become
it.
smooth. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but then on like your zoom, like on
Yeah.
your screen, it's
Yeah.
like much smoother than mine.
It's probably just because it's not that high resolution, so it looks a lot cleaner to you.
Oh, okay.
But like when I zoom in,
Okay.
you can see how it's not that smooth. Okay, so
thank you.
all good. So does everyone have, like, has everyone created the display texture? Just raise your hand if you have. Oh yes, so Darshan, you need to remove the face on both sides. Okay, so I'll just do it again for those that didn't follow. I just added a modifier called displace in the third panel. I clicked on this, and then there's a new tab over here. I just clicked on that, and this is what you guys should be looking at then, if you have followed till now. So what we'll do is we're going to head down to the bottommost tab. It's called texture properties. I'm just going to click on that. And you'll see now you have the image or movie, which is just a black screen, which is why, because the reason it's black is the reason that nothing's really happening to our cylinder. It stays the same way that it was. So what we'll do is we'll click on image or movie, and we'll head to the second option called clouds. Okay. So I click OK on clouds. And yeah, we start to see that it's pretty messed up right now. So we want to smooth this out, and we can do this by increasing the size of the texture. So it's going to scale it up, and you see how it becomes a lot smoother, right? So what we'll do is we'll make it 1.25. Okay, and it should look something like this for you guys if you have created the cloud texture and made it.
John has a question.
Oh yeah.
Can you redo clouds?
Oh yeah, sure. So when you come, you'll probably have image or movie, right? Like this is what you see on your screen, right?
Where do I go for that 1 second?
Oh, the bottommost tab. Texture
Yeah.
properties.
Yeah.
Oh, we click on image or movie.
Okay, got it.
We go to clouds. And then we just make the size 1.25 over here. Were you able to do that?
Oh yeah, you're back.
Okay, so now we notice that it still looks very, very choppy. So we're going to increase the depth to maybe 7. Yeah, okay, so you see how by making it 7, we get a lot more detail on our cylinder. So yeah, that's basically what we want to work with when we have our cylinder. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, okay? So I'm going to right click on my cylinder, okay? And you'd get this menu, and we're just going to hit shade smooth, okay? And you'd see how this immediately becomes a lot smoother. So I'll just run that back. We right click on the cylinder and we hit shade smooth, which is just the first option that you see. And it should look like that, okay? So now that we have our cylinder, which is our basic scene in place, let's move on to placing our camera, okay? So if you see these gizmos on the top left, they basically make you go to different viewpoints, okay? So if I click on X, it makes me go to the X axis viewpoint. If I click on Y, I go to the Y axis and so on. Okay, if I click on Z, this is what I'll see. Okay, so for the sake of this, we're gonna go on -Y, okay? For those of you that can't get there, you could hit the toggle camera view and you'd see this one in the bottom left, okay? Or the green one. So we'll just hit the green one and you'd be on this view. This is what you should be seeing. It might be a little bit zoomed out or zoomed in for you, but that doesn't make a difference.
Yuvraj, can you repeat that? Because some people are still confused.
Okay, so this is what you'd be looking at. If you go to the top right, you have a lot of different options here. So I just wanted to click on this one. Okay, so the green one on the left side. Just hit that button and your screen should move to this. Oh, once everyone's on this view, just like a show of hands. Okay, great. So now what we want to do is we want our camera to be facing this way as well, okay? So what you could do is you could hit the camera and you could, you could use the positioning properties to find a position for it. But a much faster way is since we're in this view, you just click on the view option on the top left of your screen. I'm just going to click on view. All right. And I'll go down to align view. Okay. I hope you guys are following this. Just hit view and then go down to align view. And then we'll hit the second option, which is align active camera to view. So when I do that, you'd see how your camera comes down to this view. Let me just get rid of all these lines. All right, yeah, so it should look like this for you guys. Has everyone got their camera to this position as yet? Just raise your hands if you have got your camera to this position. All right, yeah, so some of you guys haven't gotten this. So what I'll just do is your camera should be like this, right? We hit on this gizmo over here, the green one on the left side. Okay. And then we just hit view. We go to align view and align active camera to view. And it should look like this. It'd probably be a lot grayer for you on the outside. Mine's just a bit black because I changed it to the setting. So if I'll just go here. Yeah. But anyways, so now what we want to do is we want to move these values just back to 0. All right. So with your camera selected, just move your location values to 0. So it looks like this. Yeah, so now what we do is we're gonna move this to the very end of the cube. Okay, so go back. Okay, so remember how we made the cylinder a value of 6 at the start? Yeah, so this is where it all connects together. We're gonna move our camera to y value of -6. Okay, and you should have something like this. If you want to confirm if you're doing it right, you could just move out and you'd see the dot is at the end of the cylinder over here. If everyone has managed to move their camera to y equals -6, just raise your hands, please. Oh, all right, great. So now what we do is we're gonna go back out of that view now. Just move our camera around. We're gonna hit this cylinder. All right. We're gonna click M on our keyboard, and you get these options. So we just hit new collection. Okay, and we just name this cylinder for the sake of this. All right, so cylinder, and okay. So on the right side, you notice how we have the cylinder option like this. So basically what this is doing is now, whenever we copy and paste this object, whatever change that we make to this object will apply to all of its copies. So this comes in handy if you want to like make very large terrains and you just want to copy some places around. I'll show it to you now. When I copy paste this cube, or when I move it around, whatever I change in this cylinder will apply to all of its copies, rather than me having to manually change all of it. Okay, so once you've created,
I have a question from Arnav.
yeah.
Can you please repeat how you change the camera to 0?
Oh, wait, so wait, what do the values on the right show for you when you click the camera?
It doesn't show any value actually. When I click on the camera,
Yeah.
it shows us force length, shift X, Y, clip start and end.
Oh no, wait, okay, click on this first option here.
Oh,
Yep, and just copy the settings.
okay.
Have you gotten it to the end of the cube then? I mean the cylinder, sorry.
Yeah, and can you also tell the most recent step you did?
Oh, okay, so I basically I selected the cylinder, okay, and I click M on my keyboard, button M, and I click new collection, and I just named it cylinder. You can call it whatever you want to call it. And yeah, have you been able to do that?
I'm not able to get new collection.
Okay, wait. Have you clicked M on your keyboard?
Yeah.
And then you'll see these three buttons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just click new collection and just name it cylinder, I guess, for the sake of this, and just hit OK.
Okay.
And here we have it. On the top right, you'll see it looks like this now.
Yeah.
Yep, that means you're on track. Aaron, Anthony, you could just, if you still have one side, just hit tab again, and you should be able to remove the other side, most probably. All right, so now that we have our main cylinder and we have our camera placed, I think it's time to duplicate this to make this a very long tunnel, okay? So what I'll do is I'll click Shift A, and instead of making a new cylinder, I'll just head down to collection instance, okay? And I'll just click cylinder. Okay, have you all been able to just create a new cylinder? It should be in orange over here for you. So just raise your hands if you have. Okay, wait, I'll just show that to you guys again. So press Shift A, okay, and we go down to collection instance. And then we hit cylinder. And you should have a new cylinder created.
Yuvraj, can you repeat from the creation of the new collection, because some people skipped that step and now they don't have cylinder.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we just click our cylinder and we click M on the keyboard. All right, and it should say new collection. All right, so we just click new collection and we'll name it cylinder and click OK. So you'll see over here you have a new tab over here, which would be your cylinder tab. Has everyone followed that? All right, so now what I want now that everyone has the collection instance, we're just going to hit Shift A and we just scroll down to collection instance and we click on cylinder. All right, so now what I want you guys to do is over here, click on the X. Okay, so you see this gizmos, just click on X and your view should look like this. Okay. Oh, this is important. I'll tell you why in a sec. All right, so just click your cylinder over here and I want you to hold Control on your keyboard. Okay, and we will click this green arrow. All right, and we're just going to move this to the right so that it meets the end of this cylinder. All right, we just want to line them up together. Okay, have you guys been able to do this? Just raise your hand if you've got it to the end of that cylinder. All right, great. So now what we'll do is we're just gonna hit Shift A and we just get another cylinder, okay? And this time we drag it, holding Control on our keyboard, we're gonna drag it to the end of the next one as well, okay? So line them up together. Okay, and we just do this another 2 or 3 times, I guess, so that I'll show it to you when we switch views. So create a new instance and just drag it to the end. Okay, so they all line up together. I think we'll just make one more and we should be good to go.
Yuvraj, I think Lakshay has a question.
Oh, yeah.
How did you duplicate the cylinder?
Yeah, so you have your collection instance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just hit Shift A and at the bottom this collection instance, right? And just hit on the collection that you made. Like, are you able to see this?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
So when I do that, you'd get a new cylinder.
No, that's not happening for me.
So wait, are you not able to see this on your screen on the right side?
I can, but then.
Yeah, so if you hit Shift A and then you just call that cylinder, it should spawn for you, right? Like you won't see it immediately. It'll be like inside the older cylinder. So like if you just move this out, you'd be able to see it.
Can you repeat what you did?
All right, so I just hit Shift A. I went to collection instance and I clicked on the cylinder that we made.
Yeah.
And it should turn orange, right?
No, it's not. It's turning orange, but I can't see like the arrow.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Have you selected this on the left?
Yeah.
Then you should be able to see the arrows. Unless you delete
Okay,
it.
now I can do it. Yeah, I can
Alright.
do it now.
And then just hit Control on your keyboard, and then there's a green arrow, right? Just hold Control and drag that arrow across the screen.
Okay, thank
And
you.
line the ends up. So now we have one cylinder, our main cylinder, and then we have 5 copies of it, 4 copies. If everyone's done that, just raise your hands in the chat. We need to pick up the pace, so I'd be moving a little bit faster, and we'd be sharing the recording anyways later. So if you do miss a bit or it's a bit different, you could just follow that. Sudarshan, I'd say just make 4 copies of it. So we have our basic cylinder, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4. And just ensure they all are end to end, okay? All right, so most people seem to have done it. So now I'm just gonna hit this camera button on my screen. Okay, the third option here. And you see how this tunnel is very long now. And that's basically what we wanted to achieve with this. Okay. So now we're gonna move on to lighting. We're gonna have to really pick up the pace here. So I'm not gonna go too in depth. So we just hit Shift A on our keyboard. All right. And we go to light. And we're gonna create an area light, okay? So you're just gonna see, it's gonna move this out. Shift A light area, okay? And you're basically gonna see this light, okay? So I'm just gonna move it up so you guys can see the light over here. Okay, and now if I move into my rendered view, you guys can see the light is doing different things. So if I go into this green, the light bulb tab over here, I can change the color, okay? So I just click on color and I can change the values and you'll see how it's changing color. So yeah, and I can change the power as well. So now it's on 10 watts. I can increase the power, could just make this like 1,000 watts. And it'll look like that for you, okay? So I'm not gonna go too much in depth of this, or just copy these settings, okay? So just hit color and drag it like to the bottom, okay? Over here. Just make it a very dark red, okay? And then we'd make the power of this 150. If everyone's done that, just raise your hands, please. Okay, great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you guys. Okay, I'm going to click on the first button, the render properties, the object properties, sorry. And I'm just going to show you guys settings to hit on your keyboard. Just copy the settings in because we really need to speed up now. We have a lot of stuff left to do. Okay. So yeah, just copy the settings for your area light. And once you're done, just raise your hand and we'll move on to the next.
Okay, Brad, could you repeat the final intensity of the light that you chose?
All right, so I just clicked on the light tab over here and you can click power and you can just increase and decrease the value to make it less and more powerful. So we'd keep it at 150 for this project and hit color and just drag it down all the way. Just make it as red as you can. Okay. So we're just gonna go back to our camera view and it looks like this now. Your tunnel has a bit of red light in it. Okay. So so I'm gonna just go back. I'll stay in this field. I'm gonna add another light now. So Shift A, and this is a point light, okay? So what a point light does is it just illuminates an area around it regardless of direction. So for an area light, if I was to change the rotation value, the light would only project in that area. But for a point light, every area around it illuminates, okay? So what we'll do is I'll just have you guys copy my settings right now. So we'll make it 75 watts powerful. And we'd click color, and we'll just try to make it a nice orange shade. So to drag it down here, I like this orange, so I'll keep it at this. Okay, once you guys have just done that, just raise your hands. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go to my object properties, and I'm just gonna change the Z back to 0 and the Y to 10. Okay, so I'll give you guys a few seconds just to copy these settings. Okay, so I guess this should be enough time to have made your lights. Okay, so now I'm just gonna head back into my camera. We just should show you guys a preview. So you see, if I remove this point light, we only have the red light. So basically we just added this point light to add some ambience to our scene. Okay, and I think that we need just a smaller touch, one more touch for our lighting. So what we'll do is we hit Shift A, we make another area light. Okay, and I'll just get this up to show you guys its effect. And we'll go to properties. Let's make this 50 watts. And let's just make it like a nice purple hue. Okay, so any shade of purple that you guys like, just I think I like this, so I'll keep it at this. Okay, and just raise your hands when you guys are done. Okay, so you guys should be done by now. We're going to go to the object properties. And what we'll do is we'll just move this light to, so we'll keep it at a Z value of say 2.5. Okay, so we just want it to be above our scene. Make it 2.45 actually. And we'd move the Y coordinates to 6, okay? So you'd see how it's just in the small gap that we have here. I'll go to solid view. It'll be just in the small gap, okay? So when I go back to my rendered view, you'll see how we just have this very, very faint blue light. I know it doesn't seem like much, but later on it will. Because you see over here, the ambient blue lighting is because of this light that we have here. Okay, and once you guys have done this, just raise your hands because we're going to move the texturing after this, and that's where it gets a bit complicated. All right, great. So I'm just going to move to solid. Just going to move that there. And we're going to, on the top of our screens, you'll see a shading panel. Just click shading. And your scene should look like this. If you guys are here, just let me know if you guys can see this on your screen now. Once you reach the shading tab. Okay, so now we're gonna click our initial cube. Okay. And we're gonna hit new, all right, over here. So when you do that, you should see this menu come up. All right. And I'm just gonna hit Z and go to my rendered view again. And now you'll see it should look like this for you. Oh, so if I go back down to this tab, I'll just teach you guys a bit about this. So this is a principal BSDF node. And this is basically like a do it all node in Blender. It does pretty much everything you'd want it to do. Okay, so if I increase the value of metallic, you will notice how this becomes more metallic in nature. Okay, so I'll put that back to 0. If I decrease the roughness, it becomes a lot smoother. If I increase the roughness, it becomes, a lot more rough.
It seems you changed your shading settings previously because when you go to the shading panel, some people are getting like a forest background. So can you tell them how to change that, or if that makes a difference?
Oh, all right, so it looks like this for you guys, right? Or just hit Z on your keyboard when you're, and then just go to solid. And we go to rendered right now as well. So just click rendered. Have you guys been able to move out of that?
I assume so. You can go on.
All right, yeah, so that's just your material preview mode. It's not important right now. Okay. Okay, wait. Yeah, so I'm just gonna zoom out a little bit. And because we don't have much time, I'm just gonna have you guys just follow me, okay? So hit Shift A on your keyboard. Okay, and I will search for a color ramp. Okay, so we take a color ramp and we'll just place it to the left of our object. Okay, I'll just read that, hit Shift A and just find a color ramp and select it and move it to the left, okay? And then we're gonna plug the color from the color ramp into the base color node. And we're gonna get this, okay? We're gonna move this color to the roughness as well, okay? So just select this yellow dot and drag it to roughness. And it should look like this for you guys. Okay, so I'm just gonna pan across a little bit. I'm gonna hit Shift A and I'm gonna search for Musgrave, okay? I'm just gonna leave this here. Now there's a lot of different textures that come with Blender, but I'm not gonna explain them because we don't have much time today. But on the Discord or something, if you guys have any doubts, I'll just send you a breakdown of all of them later. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna plug in the height of this Musgrave texture. We'll drag it into the FAC, okay? It's called factor. We just drag this over here. And now you should see your cube doing some stuff, you'd see some blacks and whites on this. So again, I'll just have everyone copy my settings here, okay? So where it says 3D, just click on that and hit 4D instead. Okay, so we're just gonna hit 4D now. Okay, and then we'll increase the value of the W to 6.9. And so this is the scale value. So if you see how if I make this bigger, it changes the scale of the object, okay? So what I want you to do is just take the scale and make it 0.5. Okay, and you should get this really smooth white look to your entire scene. And then the last thing we'll change is we'll change the detail to 16. Okay, so the third tab, just 16. And then just make this last option 20. Aaron, you could just click add material. So when it says a new material, you have to create a new material. Okay, so now I'm just going to teach you guys a little bit about add-ons in Blender. Okay, so click on the second tab. It's called Edit. Okay, and we scroll down to Preferences. Okay, so we just hit Edit, and we go to Preferences. And this menu should pop up for you guys. I'm gonna move it to the center of my screen. And then it should look like this for you guys. So I just want you guys to search for Node Wrangler, okay? So Node. And the last one over here, it's called Node Wrangler, okay? Just turn it on. And once you've turned it on, just raise your hand. Has everyone been able to get this? I'll just show it to you guys again. So just go to the top, click Edit. We go down to Preferences. And then we'd all see this menu over here, right? It's in the add-ons tab. We search and we just click Node, okay? Node. And then go to the last option. It's called Node Wrangler, okay? So just click, just turn it on, okay? There's a checkbox, just turn that on. And you should have enabled Node Wrangler now. Okay, so now we'll just, can you guys just raise your hands if you have Node Wrangler enabled now? All right, great. So I'm just gonna close this for now then. Okay, so now I'm gonna click on my Musgrave texture. Okay, it should have a white outline around it. And on my keyboard, I'm gonna hit Control T, okay? And it should do this for you automatically if you enable Node Wrangler. Okay, so I'll just show that to you guys again. If you hit Musgrave texture and you hit Control T, it should automatically make these two nodes for you. Just raise your hands if you guys got this. Okay, great. So we'll just move to the left now. And you see where it says generated. If we go to the fourth option, which says object, and we take the purple dot, we'll just move this to the vector value. Okay. All right, so that's that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the right side of the material output. Okay, I'm going to drag it out as far as I can, just a little bit. I'm going to hit Shift A and search for a mix. Okay, so this is called the mix shader. I'm going to get that and I'll place it right in the middle of the two. Okay. I hope everyone's been able to do that. Just click Shift A and add a mix shader in between. I'll just show that again. Shift A, mix shader, and there we go. Okay. Now I just want to guys hit Shift A and search for emission. Okay. So this is, and as the name suggests, it basically just makes your object glow. So once you have an emission, just click the green dot and move it to shader. And it should light up a bit. Okay, so we're just gonna increase the value to 2. And yeah, so we're done with this. And now we notice that, yeah, we're feeding in two two different textures to this, but we haven't defined which texture should be placed where, which is why they just place one on top of the other, and we see the whole thing glowing. But we don't want that, you know. You see only the waves are glowing in this, the rest all is black. So what we do is we'll create another color ramp. Okay, you see how important color ramps are in Blender. Okay, and we're gonna hit the color. We're gonna plug it into the factor. You guys can do this, so raise your hand if you guys have done that. Okay, great. So now I'm gonna click on this the black slider over here. And you see now when I drag it, we see the colors fading. All right. So you know how binary works. 1 is a value of yes, 0 is a value of no. The same way, the more black we add, we're basically saying that you don't need to mix. Okay. So I just select this black one, and I'll move the position to 0.5. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna move it to 0.5, and then I'm gonna hit Shift A and search for wave. Okay, a wave texture, and just keep it at the end. So what a wave texture does is, you know, it basically just makes these waves for us that we see over here, these blue lines. And what we're doing is by putting a wave texture as the factor, we're just telling Blender that we only want the emission where the wave texture is. Okay. So I'm going to plug in this wave, the color of the wave, to the factor. And as you can see, well, we have a wave texture now, and we see the alternating pattern. Okay. So again, we're a bit low on time. So what we'll do is I'm just going to show you, when you have your wave texture, on the top it says bands. We just click on bands and we make it rings. Okay. So what that does is it makes your texture a bit more circular, as you can see. And we'll just change the scale to, we'll change the scale to 1. All right, and now you can see a bit more clearly what's happening. We'll change the detail of it to 16. All right, and that's about all we're going to do to this. And now you can see how we have our alternating textures. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, and you guys remember the mapping node that we had from before, which when you guys hit Control-T, it did this for you automatically. We're just going to click the purple dot on vector, and we're going to drag it all the way to the vector on the wave texture. Okay, that's all. So we just took the purple dot from here, and we moved it to the purple dot up there. Just raise your hand if you guys have done this much. Anirudh, it's a texture coordinate thing, or texture coordinate node. It should have automatically done this for you when you hit Control-T early on. So yeah, now that we have this in place, okay, we have an emission shader in place. What we'll do is we'll just change the color over here, so we can make it maybe red if you wanted. And yeah, so we can do a lot of different things. So you can make any color that you guys like. Okay. What I'm going to do is, okay, so this is an optional step. If you're able to follow, you should. If you can't, then you can just stick to leaving your color like this. What I usually do is I create a mixed RGB node, okay, and I keep it over here. And then because we have this Musgrave texture from before, we're just gonna, I want to add this to the color over here, and I add an RGB node to it. Okay, so I search RGB and I put that at the bottom. Let's connect these two. And then I move that to the color. And then I just change the color over here. It just makes it a lot easier. But again, this is not a necessary step. So we just gonna delete these for now. All right, so I'd keep it a shade of probably purple for the sake of this. Okay, so we have our basic texture in place now. So if I move to the camera view, you see how we're getting this texture over here. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to the color ramp. Okay, and now you see how this is, the thing is that this is black. So whenever we move it back and forth, we're telling Blender that we don't want anything here. But a better practice for these type of textures is to make this gray instead, you know. So just select the black one, and you see this black bar over here. Just click on this, and we just increase the value a little bit. So make it like a nice shade of gray, so that it isn't that effective basically. And that should be done with that texturing. So now, okay, can everyone just raise their hands if they've done all of this? All right, great. So all right, so now I want you guys to look on the right side of your screen, and you're going to see the last option, which is called world properties. So just click that for me, and it should look like this for you guys. When you go to color, I'd say just make it black. And now everything around you should be black in this. All right. So if I just go to the camera view, it looks a lot better now. All right. Mihir, I won't go back to the RGB node right now because we're short on time. We only have 20 minutes left. But I'll be sending you guys the project file later, and Tech Club will be posting the full tutorial, so you can always just look back at it. Okay, so now let's just move on to animating this thing real quick. So the first thing that you guys would want to do, because it's an infinite loop, is go back to edit on the top of your screen. Okay, and we go back to preferences over here. And now this menu pops up for you guys. So just above add-ons, we have animation, okay? So just click on animation. And the second last option, default interpolation, it should be linear, okay? So it would be Bezier for you guys. Just change that, change the default interpolation, change that to linear, okay? On the left side of your screen. Once you've done this, just raise your hands. Okay, great. So it's going to close that again. And I'm going to go back to my layout now, okay? So on the top menu, you were on shading, we go to layout now, okay? And yeah, so this is what we're going to see. At the bottom of your screen over here, you see the small tab, right? So just want you guys to go to the edge over here and just make it a bit bigger. Okay, just it'll be down here. Just go to the gap between to make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So this is what we call the dope sheet, which is the animation sheet in Blender. Okay. So first things first, we go to the second tab called output properties. Okay. And you see the frame rate is 24 frames per second. Okay. Which means that every 24 frames on this chart, 1 second passes. All right. So what we want to do is we want to keep the animation to just 5 seconds, okay? So that would be 24 into 5, which is 120. So we go to the end over here and we just make that value 120. Okay, which means that now if I click the space bar, the dope sheet only goes to a value of 120 and then it goes back to 0, okay? Which would be 5 seconds in real life. So now what we do is we're gonna click back to our camera view, all right? And we're gonna go to object properties. And if you guys would see, this should be your settings. We're gonna go on the Y and press I, okay? So if I hit I, okay, on while hovering the Y axis, it should turn fully yellow for us. Oh, Aniro, this basically just means that by default, your project's set on 24 frames per second. So we want this to be a 5-second animation. So we just make that 120 frames because 24 times 5 is 120. Yeah, so once you guys have the yellow dots on, just raise your hands. Oh, okay, great. So now what we do is we're gonna go to this menu. Okay, click on this and change this to 120. So you'd notice that this would become green for you and this would move to 120. So what I want you to do is hover your mouse on this again and hit I, okay? So it should turn yellow for you guys. So if I go back to my 0 and I drag across, you'll see the value on the right side at different parts. Wait, oh wait, my bad. When you come to this value, right, it says -6, change your Y value to 6, okay? So it should look like this for you guys. We should have like a orangish Y and the rest is green. And then you click I, okay? So basically we just want at 0, our camera to be at -6. And at 120, we want it to be at +6, okay? Okay, so at 0, it's at -6. And at 120, it's on +6, okay? So now when I play my animation, I'm just gonna hit space bar. You should see it start to move. And you wouldn't really notice this much change as you go through. It just seems infinite because we moved from one end to the other, and then we move back to the beginning. And because there's so many of these cubes laid out, you can't really tell that we haven't moved through them. Oh, there's a question in the chat. Okay, so we have our camera movement in place, right? As you can see, the camera is just moving now through the scene. So now just in rendered view. So it will look like this. As you move through. Okay, so I'd probably just request you guys to save your project again because it might crash while animating. So now we go back to the shading view, okay? And I'm just gonna head over to the mapping node that we made. And I see if you change the values of the rotation or things like that, you see how the full texture changes, okay? So suppose I change the Y location, the whole thing is changing for me. And that's basically what we want to animate on this as well. So we're just going to take the Y rotation of this. Okay, and what we can do is on the left side of our screen, there's a panel. We see this, do you guys see this little button over here? Click on that, it's called the editor type. And just click on dope sheet. Okay, if you guys did this, just raise your hand. You clicked on the little dot over here and made that the dope sheet. That's all we did. Okay, yep. So everyone seems to be done. So at 0, we're gonna hold our mouse over the y-axis, and we're gonna hit I on our keyboards. Okay, and it should turn yellow for you guys. So I'm just gonna go in the gap and make this a little bit bigger so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm gonna head over to frame number 120. Okay, 120. Yep. Yep. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to hold our mouse over the Y value and change the rotation to 360. Okay, and then hit I. So as most of you guys know that a circle, the maximum angle you get is 360. And on a unit circle, the point 0 and 360 are the exact same point. Okay, so what we're basically doing is we're making the texture progress and rotate 360 degrees until the end, which is the exact same point it is at 0 degrees. So for the 5 seconds, it moves back to the same point that it was, which helps us achieve this infinite animation. So if I just go to this over here and just zoom in a little bit, we start to see how, yeah, so I think you guys can see how the whole thing is animating with us. So this is just it's a little bit too bright for my liking. So I'll just go back up to this color ramp and I'll make it a bit more black. Maybe like 0.9 should work. And yep, so now when I hit space bar, you guys start to see this animation. And yep, we're basically done. So we'll just get you guys ready to export your thing now. Now that we have a basic scene in Blender, we need to export this as a video file, okay? So I'm just gonna head over to render properties, all right? And just make sure your screen space reflections are still on. Okay, so just turn these on and you see how everything starts to deflect now, which is just brilliant, okay? So one last step, we go to layout, okay? Just gonna show you guys. And now because we want this to be an infinite animation, right? We're gonna learn the concept of parenting objects, okay? So it basically means that when you parent an object, all of the children follow the parents, okay, as in real life. So I'm just going to hit the point light, okay. I'm going to hold control and I'll select the cylinder at the bottom, all right. And I'm going to go to object, go down to parent and object. Can you guys raise your hands if you've done this? If you guys want me to go back over the parenting, just send in the chat. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna select my point light, okay? So I'm going to select your point light, or hold control on your keyboard and click on the cylinder at the bottom. All right. So now that we've done that, we just clicked our point light and held cylinder, okay? We go to the object tab over here, okay? Object. And we go down to parent and we go to parent object. All right, and now you should see this light bulb icon comes up. Can you guys, whoever had a doubt, can you guys just Like, let me know if you guys understood that. Okay, yeah, so now that we've parented out that, okay, so I want to explain to you guys what this does. I'll just demonstrate. Okay, so now I just want you guys to click your area light, hold control and click on your cylinder and just parent that as well. Okay, so object, parent, and object. And then just click the last light, which is our area 0.001. Oh, we click on the cylinder again, object, parent, and object. So basically what we, oh wait, I made a mistake here, my bad. We need to parent it to the camera, sorry. So just undo all of that and point and hold camera instead of cylinder and parent that. So area, control click camera, object, parent, object. And once more, area, camera, object, parent, object. So what we did is basically, now wherever the camera moves, we're going to see the light moving as well. Okay, so I'm just going to move to wireframe to show you guys how this works. So now you'll see how all the lights are moving with the camera. Wherever the camera is going, the lights are going with them. And that's basically essential for our infinite loop. So if I go into the rendered view and I click on this, now look at this. You see how this light seems to always be at the distance. It just seems like we always have that light there. Okay, and basically, yeah, we're done with the project now. I'll just run you guys over how to export animations in Blender. So we go to output properties and we go to output over here. Okay, second tab, output properties, output. By default, it's saved as a PNG file. Okay, but we don't want a PNG. We want to save it as a video. Okay, so we click on file format and we go to FFmpeg video. Okay, so just click on file format, FFmpeg video. Go down to encoding and change it from Matroska to MPEG-4, which is just MP4 basically. All right, and yeah, so once you guys have this, raise your hands. Once you guys just changed it to the FFmpeg video and made it MPEG-4. All right, great. So yep, we're done then, guys. So to render this, you'd have to click on render and click render animation. Don't do it right now because this would probably take like, oh, okay, you guys want to, yeah, okay. So do not render it right now because this would take like an hour to render the full 120 frames. You guys could render just an image if you guys want to check that out. And yeah, I guess we're done, guys. So on the Discord, I'd love if you guys could, mess around with the colors of the scene or like, change the shading a little bit, play around with the different values a little bit and then just render it and send it to us. And we'd love to give you guys feedback. And I think with that, we should be done with this segment as well. So we have a little design task for you guys. It's going to stop my screen share and
thanks, Yuvraj.
Yeah, Soham, are you here?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Oh, all right, guys. So yeah, we just have a little design task for you guys. If you guys would like to do that, just create a scene in Blender. You guys can use the knowledge you've got from this workshop and send it to us. You could send it to these email IDs or post it on Instagram and tag GIIS Tech Club. And we'd love to go through your submissions and follow up on your progress with Blender. We don't really have time for Q&A, so we'll skip this. But again, you guys can just ask this question in the Discord and we'd be happy to answer. And with that, we should be done with this meeting.
Thanks, Yuvraj. thank you to everyone for attending this 3D modeling webinar. Please do note that we will be sending the recording either via a drive link or through our website, which will be going live soon. You can join the Discord server, the link to which I think Soham can send the link to the Discord server in the Q&A again, where Yuvraj and Soham can answer your doubts further. Moreover, please be sure to attend our future webinars, which are taking place on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. You can check out the topics on our Instagram page as well, and all the webinars are held on this link from 4 to 6 p.m. So be sure to attend that. The GIS Tech Club would also like to thank the IT department, especially Ravneet ma'am and Sonal ma'am, for their continuous support and letting us organize these webinars and to help us share our passion for technology with you guys. If you guys have any question, once again, reach out to either our Instagram or reach out to us via the Discord server, the link to which will be sent in the Q&A by Soham. And with that, we've come to the end of this webinar. Please be sure to attend our future webinars as well. And we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. again. Thank you.